All right. So I guess I'm live. Um, so like I downgraded my StreamYard. I was paying like $50 a month, and I downgraded it to like 35 or 40. And now there's a thing where you can do it for free, and I'm checking it out to see. So the only thing I see now, I'm live, but with the free one, I guess you can't play the intro music. I am playing some background music because I got struck, so that might help with me not getting struck again. The only thing I couldn't do is I couldn't set the background because I kind of want to take a little bit of the blur off. So you can see my lovely cowboy hat here. Let me get this other. So, yeah, last time I did the Jennifer Kesse, I got struck, and I think it was one of my videos that was totally taken off. But I'm going to do her case real quick, and then this something that's new with her case, and it's come out, and then I think I'm maybe going into some other cases, and a local one too that I was going to go over that they just made an arrest, and I didn't even get a chance to do the video on it, but I'll go into. So it's going to be a couple cases here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see if we can play this video here. And
He says their daughter's cold case is no longer cold. WashU's Michelle Meredith talked to Jennifer's father today. And so, Michelle, what has changed?
Well, the disappearance of Jennifer Kesse is one of the most baffling cases the nation has ever seen. And at one point, law enforcement was looking at hundreds of people they were interested in. And now that's changed.
The 24-year-old disappeared from her Orlando apartment complex almost 20 years ago, vanished without a trace. Kesse's abandoned car was found several days later at a complex not far from hers. Initially, the only clue police had was a picture of this mystery man, never identified because a pole blocked his face in every shot. Even though multiple law enforcement agencies have worked the case, the investigation is now in the hands of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And according to Kesse's father, a glimmer of hope comes with news FDLE has narrowed the list of people considered persons of interest down to just a few, even more than he told us earlier this year.
And why is it important that you're down to a few?
Because if we're down to a few, as opposed to many, we're closer to finding out what actually happened to Jennifer. And if we can get that out of a person, or if we can at least narrow it down to a person to say, no, we know this person knows something and they're lying to us, we know they know something, well then, then game is on.
Do you think it could be the mystery man, that man in the picture?
I hope so. I mean, if we find that mystery man, we'll have our questions, whether that person did something directly to Jennifer or was asked to do something with Jennifer's car. If we find that person, it's over. I can guarantee you, it's over.
It's hard to believe that this year Jennifer Kesse is 44 years old.
I did the math
And the
wrong. I
Kesse
thought she was my
family
age,
never
49.
gives up. Right now, they're working on a docu-series that's scheduled to air next year.
So that's all good news. Case is not cold. I read somewhere, or not read, I saw somewhere else where there's DNA that was found too. I don't know if that's true, but I know it's not cold anymore, and that's good. So yeah. So that's good news. 20-year-old case. I think I had written down here from Yeah, she was 24. Yeah, that makes 20. Yeah, 24, 20 years ago. 44, 45. Yeah, she's. Yeah, I suck at math. And then she went missing June 24, 2006. So 19 years. So, 23, 24, she be. So, let me, excuse me. It's been a while, guys. I apologize. I'm trying to, think how to. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me do this one real quick, get this out of the way. And I was going to do a video on her, but
we begin tonight with
okay. Here we go. And I got the music playing in the background, so if that might help me not get struck here.
breaking news as a second person has been indicted in the 2014 Cindy Ball murder case. Our Megan Marshall joins us live from the Wood County Courthouse with the details. Hey Megan, what can you tell us about this indictment?
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, like you said, I am outside by the Wood County Courthouse right now. Earlier today, the indictment for Gregory A. Casto was unsealed, and a second person has been named as a defendant in connection with the 2014 murder of Cindy Ball of Vienna. Martha Jane Steffens is facing an indictment for one count of accessory after the fact to murder. The indictment says Steffens unlawfully, feloniously, and knowingly harbored, concealed, maintained, or assisted Casto after knowing that said offense had been committed, or gave Casto aid knowing that said offense had been committed with the intent that Casto avoid or escape detention, arrest, trial, or punishment. Casto is being charged with 2 counts. The first count is for murder, and the second count is for concealment of a deceased human body. Wood County prosecutor Pat Lefebvre says Casto and Steffens will be tried together as of now. Ball was found shot to death in the woods of Wirt County on October 24th of 2014, 11 years ago. Since then, the case has been under investigation by the West Virginia State Police Violent Crimes Task Force. Lefebvre says Casto and Steffens will likely be arraigned within the next week or so. The investigation into the case is still ongoing, and no additional details are being shared at this time. We'll continue to provide updates as they become available to us. That's all I have for now, Andrew. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that update, Megan.
So yeah, I just fill you in on Cindy Ball there. Cindy Ball deal. I think she was married for. She had a son. I don't know how old he'd be now. He'd probably be close to 18 years old, if not. I went to school with her. She had a brother and a sister. Her sister was older than her. A beautiful young lady there. So she would have died 14 years ago, and I think she was a couple years younger than me. So I think I don't know the math right off the top of my head. How old she? I think she was like 34 or something, 32, 34 when this happened. And it's kind of these things where everybody knew who did it. There was even like on a post on one of the articles that her older sister, I can't remember older sister's name, that posted that she thought it was this guy. He was older than her, that Greg Casto, and he was a biker or in a bike gang or whatever. And there was awful stories of their relationship. Supposedly she was trying to get away from him. One of the rumors was what happened to her was, and it had nothing to do with this, was those girls in Chillicothe, that she was connected to that. that's another story itself. They did and that's not too far away from here. And like I said, they found her. She was shot in the back of the head and left out in the woods in Wirt County, which is like a little town outside of here, outside of Parkersburg. I mean, there's 3 or 4 true crime stories I'd like to cover around here. That was one of them. It sounds like that one's, they got the guy. It sounds like that girl, I think, was like his ex-girlfriend, and she helped him out. So, and they didn't put her name out for a while. So maybe, I don't know. maybe she'll cut a deal. And I went to, yeah, her brother Bernie was, I think, a grade or 2 ahead of me. Real nice guy. I always see him out at parties, and he's a funny guy. He's still around here. He works. They both worked at restaurants. They were servers, and Cindy was too. And Cindy had this smile that could just light up a room. Everybody liked her. Everybody wanted to be around her. And she wasn't like one of these girls that, was pretty and stuck up. She would talk to anybody, and she'd make you feel like you were just being around her made you feel, I don't know, better about yourself. But God rest her soul, and just wish that could have ended a lot better. And I'm glad that they got the guy that looks like, that did this. So, yeah, with that being said, the next case I kind of want to move on to is, let me see if I can find it here. There is a girl missing here. I'll just go ahead and do Gretchen Fleming. This is another young lady. She was, I think, 29 when she went missing, and she was missing last seen at one of these bars around here. And she went to school with my nephew and niece. And her father was an all-state wrestler, Dave Fleming. And he unfortunately passed away about a year ago. He had a heart attack, and I think his wife found him deceased. Found him deceased. He felt, he died in his sleep, it sounds like. But her name was great. Well, she could still be alive. She's missing. Her name's Gretchen Fleming, and they covered her case on that one show. Oh God, disappeared. So, and this was around Christmas when she went missing, and I think it's been about 3 years now, 3 or 4 years. I think it was right after COVID, or around when COVID was going on when she was missing. So let me go ahead and see if I can find something to her. We'll show her, and then I want to cover this other girl. I think she went missing out of Kentucky. I should let Parkersburg up there. Let's just hope I don't get struck. Yeah, they searched this guy's house too. This is WTAP. Local.
For more than 7 months, Gretchen.
This is the local news. I'll go ahead and play this. Hopefully I don't get struck here by playing this, but who knows? All right.
Fleming has been missing, and her family is looking to keep her name and the investigation active. Our Mitchell Blay. For more than 7 months, Gretchen Fleming has been missing, and her family is looking to keep her name and the investigation active. Our Mitchell Blayhut sat down with Gretchen's parents about what they are doing.
Gretchen Fleming went missing on the morning of December 4th after being seen last at the My Way Lounge in Parkersburg. The investigation is being headed by Parkersburg police, who are outsourcing forensics and evidence
There's her dad on the
to
left.
outside agencies.
David.
Gretchen's dad, David, says he believes this will take the case in a positive direction.
We started bringing in some outside agencies now that are going to be involved in looking at this case, so I think that's a very positive move too. I can't really talk about in detail what they are doing, but there are outside agencies that are now going to be involved, and I think this is a very positive step.
Gretchen's stepmother, Jennifer, says Parkersburg PD is continuing to communicate and update the family as much as they can. She adds the department is dedicating many hours to this case every day.
I think they're treating it as if it was their own family member. I think they are putting in that much effort.
Along with law enforcement, businesses and people in the community are helping Gretchen's family. Discount Signs and Awnings is donating 500 bracelets with Bring Gretchen Home on them to spread awareness. There are also signs, t-shirts, and a billboard on Grand Central Avenue to try to help find Gretchen.
You can't drive around this town and not see a reward sign for Gretchen.
They are still up.
And explaining that she is missing and that, we're looking for any kind of information. Some people have got some Facebook pages out where you can see ongoing conversations going on there of people following the case. Just people coming out asking, can I put a sign in my yard? Can I put a sign in my business? I want to keep her name out there. It's very overwhelming, and we're very grateful for that, and we appreciate the community support.
David says he is starting to worry about the worst possible scenarios as another month goes by with no sign of his daughter.
So now that we're approaching the 8th month factor, the realization is starting to hit in that maybe something happened to her.
You can call 304-424-1072 for Detective Zimmerman or 304-424-8444 for After Hours if you have any information about the case. In Parkersburg, this is Mitchell Blahut.
It's her grandma and her
WTAP
grandpa.
News.
So her grandma, I believe, passed away, and then her father, who you just saw, passed away since this has happened. I wish I had the exact date. I believe it was around December, about 3 years ago, like December 3rd, December 4th, 3 or 4 years ago. There she is. Little. I know my brother remembers her because she was, I think, in the same grade as my nephew. And I think she would probably be around his age, 31, 32 years old now. It's one of those things where I think everybody kind of knows who it is. I might get into all that. I just kind of wanted to show her because, these are, Cindy got soft. Now a lot of people are saying, let's arrest the guy that did something to Gretchen, but unfortunately they haven't found her. They've done searches and, I was about ready to cry there seeing Dave. I didn't really know him. I heard of him. He was, he was all-state wrestler, and I guess he was still, coaching the wrestling. In Parkersburg, wrestling's like it's the only thing we win at. And they start out really young, and it's really good. Like wrestling is like what we do here as far as sports, and everything else is just there, so to speak, So I might go into that one some more. Hopefully that, they find her, and, the guy they think it is, he's just, I don't know. I don't want to get into all that, but, sad. But so is life. Life is sad. I mean, can't imagine it. It makes it, he passed away not too long ago. I hate to hear that. But let's go ahead and get into those. Are close to me. Those are hard. Like I knew Cindy, and I can't even remember her name. I might not be able to do that when I totally forget her name, because I was thinking about that today. But she, she helped this girl helped find people, and then she went missing herself. Her name was Andrea. Now I'm totally forgetting her last names. I'm getting it confused with a girl that I, actually know here. Knable. Okay. Knable was her last name. They haven't found this young lady either. And they did a documentary on her. Don't want to get struck, so I got to be careful like what I play here. Here's a short one. There's just a lot of back and forth with this. Did I get the thing up? Okay, yeah. All right.
The search for a missing person will take you to places you never imagined.
Where did they go? They just didn't disappear.
The journey to find them, it's physical.
Knocking on doors at midnight with a flyer and a flashlight.
There's her dad and her sister.
Under every ditch, under every bridge.
And it takes an emotional toll.
You feel every day when you don't find her.
But for the families of the missing, there is no other option. For the family of Andrea Knable, it's a terrible twist, as a woman who searched for others turns up missing herself. Andrea was 37 years old when she was last seen alive. A mother of two, a member of the group Missing in America, searching for people whose trails had gone cold.
She was pretty bright, really eager, wanting to learn, to tune her investigative abilities. She was kind of a keyboard sleuth.
But in the months before she disappeared, families say her life had gotten complicated.
It really was the low point in her life at that point when she went missing. And we realized the condition she was in partially, but we found out more things. I did when, after she was gone.
She lost her job and then her home.
It just seemed like one thing after another would happen, and then she was evicted from her home. So I feel like she was probably overwhelmed and depressed with her situation, just as anybody would be with all that happening.
Families say Andrea found a friend in everyone, for better or worse.
I think somebody in her circle, if the worst happened, I think that's where it happened. Somebody connected with the wrong industry, the wrong hobbies, maybe involved in things that are illegal.
To better understand, we have to go back in time to the last night she was seen alive, August 12th, 2019.
My name is Tracy Leonard. I'm a private investigator, and I am investigating the case of Andrea Knable.
Private investigator team The Locators tracked Andrea's every move on the night she disappeared, using her cell phone and GPS coordinates. It starts at her mother's home, where Andrea had been staying. Family says there was an argument. She left the house to cool off.
She was taken to a McDonald's with the sister's boyfriend and her nephew. And then they left from McDonald's. They went to the hospital. She was having some type of infection on her face. She was picked up by a rideshare company and then taken back to her mother's house. She was at her mother's house briefly, then walked over to her sister Erin's house.
Andrea came over and she just told me she was upset about everything going on. She was upset about her face, and that, they had argued earlier that night. And so we kind of hung out, and she vented to me, and I told her maybe you should just go home and rest it off, and everything will be fine in the morning. She left, and it's the last time I saw her.
I don't know if I could do these or not. Okay. I will be right back. All right. Yeah. All right. What did it do? Take the thing come off?
Evidence shows Andrea's phone made it back to her mother's house around 6:30 in the morning. where she made some calls before eventually going dark.
You know, her phone either went dead or it was turned off, and she disappeared.
Erin filed a missing persons report days later after not hearing from her sister. Police responded quickly.
They interviewed all of us, and I think they got a warrant for my mom's house. They wanted to see if Andrea's phone was there. I guess that was their goal, so they brought in like vans of people.
But the efforts didn't lead to answers, and investigators have struggled to narrow the field of possibilities, responding to sightings that never seem to pan out.
We'll go, you know, into that store, pull the video, not her. We've had, you know, probably 200 of those.
Without any confirmed sightings and a lack of evidence, the family focuses on the facts.
There is no sign of foul play. There's no sign of death at all. And either...
oh shit, that's my bad.
So
I went the wrong way on the speed time.
Yeah, to find.
Okay, sorry about
go to
that.
the end of the
I was trying to speed it up and I slowed it
situation.
down.
And, that's
I'll just leave it alone.
my role in this situation, and we plan to see it through.
The father-daughter duo and fellow investigator vow to keep searching.
I'm not going to quit. I'm going to find out what happened to our friend.
Searching for the woman who has searched for so many others. If you have any information that could help investigators in this case, you're urged to call LMPD at 574-LMPD. And we want to invite you to join the conversation on our Facebook page, Unsolved Insiders. There we talk about these cases.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, she used to search for people. Yeah, there's a couple. I think there was one documentary on her. It's, I don't know. Like she went to her sister's that night, not the sister they showed. Well, yeah, she did go to the sister she showed, but then she was at the other sister and her husband, and then they had the nephew, and there was some sort of, if I remember right, there was some sort of argument. And supposedly that sister and Andrea didn't get along. And there were some rumors, that maybe, why they didn't like each other. And the neighbor said they argued. When she lived there, they could hear arguments a lot. And they did some construction after she went missing. She's supposed to go back, I think, to her either her sisters or her mom's. Maybe it was her mom's. And then she took an Uber. And then I think the Uber dropped her off. And then they didn't see her again. But in that documentary, she was supposedly going to go undercover for some cases. And they thought maybe that could have been, part of it. I can't remember the documentary. I could probably find it here. This one's it's a interesting case itself. The girl that looked for people and she went missing herself. There's rumors of drug use. That she got into like her face or her complexion. It looked like she was picking at her, scabbed over her face, and that a lot of people say that's from like meth. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on here, but yeah, amphetamines. YouTube's weird. There's stuff you can and can't say. I'm not monetized. I mean, I don't care. I just do this just to do it because I like talking about this stuff and I like getting the word out. I don't have any viewers, but maybe someday. Oh, she was a single mom. I didn't think she had any. This says she was a single mom. I don't know about that. I didn't think she had any kids. Maybe she did. Yeah, it's so sad when women go missing. 6 years. I want to try to find something recent. They found some bodies. Yeah, I think she was missing out of Kentucky that they thought was her, and it wasn't. And last thing I heard, there was one, but I don't know if it ever come back. Yeah, everything's like 3 to 6 years ago. I don't see anything recent on this, and that's bad. That means like nobody's talking about it, and that's not good. Here's a 13-minute one. Let's go ahead and play this one. Okay. I don't know. I'm just playing it. I don't know if this is. Hopefully, I mean, if it's a psychic reading or what, but we'll see.
Morgan Nick, Alma, Arkansas, June 9th, 1995. At 10:45 p.m. on June 9th, 1990.
Okay, this is going through. Okay, I don't want to do that. That's going through some other cases here. This is a year ago.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle Hallen, and I am back with another true crime video. And today, we're going to be speaking about the mysterious and unexpected disappearance of 37-year-old Andrea Knebel from Louisville, Kentucky, back in 2019. This case is so heartbreaking. Family dynamics are very complicated. The public has just really torn people apart, and it has taken constant effort from Andrea's dad, Mike, and her sister, Erin, to keep the focus where it needs to be, finding Andrea. We all have secrets. We all have things that we...
Yeah, and they seem to be the two that they're looking for. Her mom, I haven't, I'm not signaling them out or anything, but it seems like, she has, her mom and her other sister don't seem to publicly be, looking for her. Doesn't mean they're not, but what I'm trying to say is the father and the redheaded sister that they show, I don't know her name, and she's done interviews and stuff too, and it breaks my heart because I can tell she wanted to stay at her house that night, and she said she wasn't in real good shape. She just moved in the neighborhood. She had to be at work in the morning, and she told her she couldn't stay there. And she feels bad, I see it, she feels like
struggle with. And Andrea potentially had a lot going on that people didn't even know about. So the possibilities of where she is and what happened stretch far and wide. The police department has been pretty tight-lipped about their efforts. I can barely find anything at all in the news articles directly coming from authorities. So most of the information in this case has come from several different sources like family and PIs that have been looking into it. So let's get into the details, and hopefully we can help bring Andrea home. Andrea is the oldest of 3 girls born to Mike and Cheryl Knebel. And growing up, Andrea was raised in a really nice neighborhood in Louisville known as Audubon Park. Her dad describes her as always being happy. She was a very, very gifted child, and he said that most parents say that about their kids, but she really did catch on to things so quickly. She excelled in all of her milestones faster than most, and in school she did great. And when her 2 little sisters, Erin and finally Sarah, came into the picture, she earned the nickname of Mother Andrea. One of the best things about Andrea is that she has the biggest heart and just this natural drive to take care of anyone and everyone. So her sisters were like her little babies, and her relationship with at least Erin continued to remain close into their adult years. Andrea was the life of the party. She could walk into any room and the attention was always immediately on her. She was loud and excited, and you couldn't help but be drawn to her. She attended a local Catholic school where her parents ensured that she was set up for a great future, and eventually she went on to graduate from the University of Louisville Louisville with a marketing degree. And
Oh,
all of that
I didn't know
intelligence
that.
and creativity landed her a spot working with Humana. Andrea's life was beautiful and exactly what she had always wanted. She went on to have 2 little boys, and according to Aaron,
Oh,
her
she
house
did
was
have 2
the
little
fun
boys.
house of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Andrea loved to be surrounded by people, so her door was always open for neighborhood kids, for her family, pretty much anyone who
She
wanted
was a
to
boy
come jump
mom.
on the trampoline and have a bite to eat. So again, just such an open, welcoming personality. And in 2017, her desires to do good were focused in a very specific way. Andrea's friend unfortunately went missing, and she was the very first to jump into action. She went and reported her friend as missing to the police and started searching all on her own. And eventually, this put her in contact with Missing in America. Now, this is a group of women in the Louisville area dedicated to bringing home missing persons. Andrea, authorities, and Missing in America helped to bring her friend home safe and sound, which is awesome. But Andrea, at this point, had found a new passion of hers. She began to volunteer for Missing in America, passing out flyers. She would work closely with PIs. Sometimes she would go undercover. She would speak to families, help advocate for them, and she was really, really good at it. And you can tell in all of the little snippets of interviews where all the women are working together. And they ended up becoming one of Andrea's tightest circles of friends. Andrea also helped to safely get women in dangerous domestic situations in contact with an attorney that was willing to help. And she did this for no less than 10 local women. And she even took it a step further, attending their hearings to show her continued support. Andrea was really someone that cared about everybody, no matter who they were, no matter what their background was, if they were strangers, if they were best friends. She just wanted the world to be a better place. But everything wasn't always so perfect for Andrea. According to her sister Erin, quote, she is caring and thoughtful to others to a fault. Unfortunately, this is a common theme that we see with people with this kind of personality. Her big heart and her willingness to help would often put her in precarious situations with not so great people. And she didn't always know when to draw the line or how to really save herself when she ended up getting in too deep. It was almost like this self-sacrifice type of situation with Andrea. She would allow people in her life that would drag her down and potentially put her in danger, all in the name of helping others. And her boyfriend, prior to her disappearance, was one of the people her family wasn't very fond of. But Andrea saw the good in him and continued their relationship, and eventually they ended up getting engaged. But just after they got engaged, he ended up in prison for selling meth. And it seems that from this point on, things began to spiral out of control. Obviously, it was a huge loss having her fiance thrown in prison. I'm sure there were a whole bunch of I told you so's happening. And not just that, things in her private life were just chaotic. Andrea ended up being laid off from Humana. There were 2 mass waves of layoffs that happened around this time, and that was a crushing blow for her. Everything that she had worked so hard for in her career had come to a screeching halt. She then began to lean on any odd job she could find, like being a delivery driver for a few different companies, but this too fell apart when her car was part of a hit and run accident. I believe that her car broke down on the side of the highway or something, and she left it to pick it up the next day, but when she went back to get it, someone had just plowed through her car, and it was like off the road in a ditch somewhere. And so it was completely totaled, and with nobody to cover the cost of what they had done to it, Andrea had to figure it out on her own, and the job she had to get her money to cover it required her to have a car. With help from friends and family, a GoFundMe was started to try and raise funds for a new car, because without it, she was jobless. She had 2 kids that were relying on her. She had rent to pay, but the money just never flowed in. So soon after, Andrea also lost her home. So her job, her car, her home, her fiance, all of this had happened in a relatively short time period.
Yeah, you talk
so
about
in the early summer of 2019,
coming
she had
down
nowhere
on
to go but back to her
crashing
childhood
down.
home where her mother lived, because I don't believe at this point her mom and dad were still together. But unfortunately, even that just did not at all go to plan. Now, the home Andrea had grown up in was at least 100 years old, and it was in desperate need of renovations. I believe one of the bathrooms, like the bathtub, hadn't worked, or the shower hadn't worked in like 10 plus years. And so Cheryl, her mom, decided to go ahead and get the bathroom and get a few things done to update the place. And this was around the time that Andrea was moving in. And Andrea's youngest sister, Sarah, was engaged to a man named Ethan, who just so happened to run a renovation business. And so Sarah and Ethan temporarily moved from Lexington, Kentucky, which was about an hour away, into Cheryl's home to do renovations themselves. It was just easier for them to temporarily move in there so they could be there to get things done in a timely manner instead of this 2-hour everyday commute that they would have had to do otherwise. And so while this was going on, Cheryl decided to stay at a friend's house instead for comfort purposes while the renovations were going on. And so it was just Sarah, her fiance Ethan, and Andrea inside of the home. And according to friends of Andrea, her relationship with her youngest sister Sarah was not the greatest. It was a little bit tumultuous. Andrea often said that that she was the black sheep of the family and that her two sisters were always the golden.
Now, Sarah isn't the one that they showed earlier with their father they're looking for.
Children, especially Sarah. There was a lot of competition between the two, and with Andrea's life in shambles, it was a very tense situation. So it is just a really, really tough time for Andrea.
There they
And
are.
aside
She
from
looks like
everything
her
that
other
was
sister.
already
They both had
happening,
red hair.
friends and family of Andrea said that around this time, she started to not act like herself. Andrea would behave erratically. She, for example, would ask to borrow one of their cars for an hour, like just to run a quick errand, but would not come back until hours and hours later with no explanation. She was hanging around an even more questionable crowd. It felt like Andrea had secrets. Like there was just something going on that she wasn't telling everyone about. And her family tried every way possible to get her back on track. This was apparently causing a lot of issues within the family. They questioned her about drug use, which just infuriated her. They offered to pay for rehab for her, which she seemed to refuse, because Andrea was the kind of person that didn't want help from anyone, no matter how much she may have really needed it. She was way too proud. She liked to move in silence and figure things out on her own and then come back and say, hey, look what I was able to do without your help. She genuinely thought she could drag herself out of whatever may have been going on with her. But eventually, it got to the point where they just had to start setting boundaries with Andrea and pushing the hard conversations. So now it was all tough love. And when you're going through a tough time and there's tough love happening, it can make things that much more difficult. But her family was growing more and more uncomfortable with her behavior and the people that she was bringing around. There were safety concerns. It just seems like there was a lot happening that even the family hasn't really come forward and shared with everyone because it's very personal. And it all seemed to come to a head on the night of August 12th, 2019. So that night, their mother Cheryl stopped by at the house to have dinner with everyone, which seemed to be a routine thing. She would come and check on the renovation progress, have dinner with everyone, and then head back off to her friends where she was staying.
Wow, she's really detailed here into the events. That's crazy. I don't know how she knows all this stuff. I'm not saying, just that's awesome. It's a long video. Yeah. I might, I try to keep these under around an hour. Let's see what else we got here. See if we got a another shorter video, like maybe a 15-minute, and then we'll close it out. A good one here. This one looks good. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, that was a good one. She was going into detail and stuff. I might come back to that one. I might come back to this because I don't have it titled. I still have this titled Jennifer Kesse because of the updates that just come out a couple of days ago. And I just did 2 videos. One of them got taken down. Let's see what we got here.
A bump in the night, a creaking floor, a shadowy figure near your door, a haunting tune evoking fear and sadness. You are now tuned in.
It goes good with Halloween, but this
This next case took place in the Audubon Park neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky. Not far from Camp Taylor, the neighborhood is described as being a quiet place with strict law enforcement.
Hold on, guys.
A place where few things go unseen, or unreported, basically. Andrea Nabel was last seen while heading in the direction of her mother's house. She was 37 years old in August of 2019 when she went missing. Those who knew her and loved her, they describe her as a very caring person who would put the needs of others ahead of herself, and ahead of her own needs.
You hear that a lot with her.
She was a quick learner who could relate very well with others, regardless to their background. She was the mother of 2, and a graduate of the University of Louisville, wherein she received her bachelor's degree in marketing. Life seemed to be going very...
Chat replay. I don't know what that means. Yes, that's weird. I don't like that voiceover. Chat replay. What? Here we go. Let's try this one.
A baffling case of a missing mother. Andrea Knable vanished without a trace and has not been seen now for 5 years. This is Wave News at 6. I'm John Ball.
And I'm Myra Ansari. Andrea Knable's family continues to search despite 5 years of disappointment and heartache.
You may already played this one. If I did, I apologize.
David Mattingly about what he's encountered and why he won't give up.
Myra, Andrea's father, Mike Knable, tells me that he leans heavily on his wife, his children, and his grandchildren to bring joy into his life. He needs that kind of support because he continues to fight for answers in his daughter's disappearance.
It was only a mile, roughly 2,000 steps, but they were the last known steps taken by Andrea Knable in the early morning hours of August 13, 2019. The 37-year-old mother of two vanished after leaving her mother's home in Audubon Park, leaving behind a family that even today refuses to give up hope and struggles to keep the grief at bay.
And so you just learn to compartmentalize that and store your grief in a dark little closet. And you can keep it there for only so long, and it just revisits you throughout the day. First thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed at night.
Since his daughter's disappearance, Andrea's father, Mike, has endured dozens of fruitless leads and false sightings that have taken him into some dangerous situations.
We've had people that they've seen her in specific places, specific houses. We've gone to trap houses that we thought she was located in. That's where traffic girls are located.
He's also taken a dozen calls from cruel people trying to prey on his desperation.
Generally, when you run into these scammers, they want money up front before they'll show proof of life, and you ask for that proof, and generally they fade away and disappear.
What hasn't disappeared are the signs reminding anyone who cares to look that the search for Andrea Knable goes on. In the early days, the case prompted community searches and attracted national attention. In 2019, Mike Knable said, "The further it goes, the more I fear we won't see her." 5 years later, we find that fear has not gone away, but neither has his resolve.
We have known for a long, long time what the odds are. They get longer all the time. However, there's still no proof of death nor life. And so we have to maintain this until we get it. And if
the unknowing's the worst.
We have to search forever. That's what we'll do.
Mike Knable tells me that he and Andrea's sister plan to take a walk through Audubon Park. It's a tradition that they've formed over the last 5 years. He says it's something that gives them strength to keep going. Reporting live, David Mattingly, Wave News.
Yeah. That's tough, man. I think that was maybe a year ago because they said it was 5 years after she went missing. So that'd be like 2004. And, he's looking, man. If you watch that, I forget, it was like a documentary. And that's how I first come on his case. And I think it was like on a big network. I can't remember like what network it was. And it, like I said, they showed the People's Magazine, and this case has got national, recognition. There's a lot that don't. Like, look at Gretchen, and here, yeah. I mean, hopefully they figure out what happened to her. And we'll go ahead and jump off here. I may be doing, trying to go into do a sports, because no one's watching. But I may do a sports. Try to see. I don't know if I'll do it on here, if I could do another channel. Just figuring stuff out. But I'm gonna go ahead and end this stream here. I don't have the thank you template. It'll come up, but I do thank you if anybody comes back and watches this. Until then, my friend.